Today's episode of Take a Seat is all about the power of partnerships, how collaboration, connection and shared purpose can drive real impact. And we're delighted to welcome our guest, Simon Hewitt, Principal of Dundee Angus College. Originally from Northern Ireland, Simon came to Dundee to study at Abertay University before building a career that spans industry, education and senior academic leadership. After moving into lecturing in 2008, Simon progressed through academic management and became principal in 2020, leading the college through a period of significant change and opportunity. Alongside his role at the college, Simon is deeply involved in national boards and partnerships across skills, digital, energy and education, and is a strong advocate for collaboration between education, industry and local communities. In today's conversation, we'll be talking about why working with local business really matters, what successful and not so successful partnerships have taught him along the way, and the exciting plans for the college's future presence in the Wellgate Centre, which will bring education right back into the heart of the city. This episode is about connection, shared ambition, and what's possible when organisations work together. So, Simon, take a seat. Welcome.
Thank you, Alison. Thanks for having me.
I'm just having a wee laugh to myself because at the Wellgate Centre, we're going to talk about that first, but actually people will be so glad that they don't have to walk up the Conche to do their night classes, which is what I had to do. So, yeah.
That's where I started as well in the college.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about the Wellgate.
Yeah, I think you have to go back 2 years now to actually, where did this all come from? Because a lot of people basically said you must be crazy to take all of this on. But actually at that point, it was born out of frustration. I think the college sector was going through big change, financial challenges right across the board. We knew our estate was aging, but we also knew that college builds college isn't really sexy anymore, and the world's moved on and things need to be different. And actually, your very topic around partnerships and collaboration is really what should be at the heart of any future and change. So, we stepped back at that point and thought, right, what could we do and what could we do different? And we engaged with Dundee City Council to look at a whole range of options. I think we identified 16 sites or something right across Dundee, but we knew we wanted to be in the heart of the centre, mainly to help regeneration, but also for travel, for a whole range of other things. And through the council, we identified the Wellgate as an opportunity, and we spoke with the owners who were dead excited, and it kind of escalated from there. And actually, as I've said in so many occasions now, it's a bit of a no-brainer because we know that retail, traditional retail is struggling a bit. We know that side of the city is struggling a bit. So actually, what better to be a catalyst for change and to bring regeneration, but more importantly, to support people to get into a job, into skills, into training, and on to another route. Yeah.
So for people that don't really know about the project, I remember when we were first chatting about it, one of the concerns is way too strong a word, but I remember in the city centre strategic investment plan, there was, quite ambitious plans to have the Wellgate Centre reopen from the Murraygate back up towards, I'm luckily too young to remember the Wellgate steps, but I'm not far off it, but you can just to reopen that, but also to have lots of people living around that end of town. So the proposals are to kind of continue to do some of that, to kind of protect the asset that's the Wellgate Library, which is such an important part, but also to kind of bring the college in conjunction with other organisations in. So for the people that don't really know what it's all about, what is it all about?
And I've seen some of the concerns and some of the comments about closing off a public section, and I think just to kind of allay any fears, the whole point of it is to open it back up again and to bring people there and to bring much more of a community feel around it, that it's not just a college, it's going to be so much more than that. So, there'll be lots of green space, there'll be lots of social space, there will be facilities that can be accessed by anyone in the public. So what we're planning to do is still keep a shopping centre theme in the college element, which will have, hair and beauty facilities. It'll have our training restaurant. It'll have student-led shops, and also it'll have a range of services. So employability services, careers advice and support through SDS, a range of things basically on that. So it'll still feel like an area that anyone can go to, but actually we hope that it's a bit more than that, because we want cafes to open up, we want things to all happen around that side of town. And, for example, some of the conversations we've had with the council are we would have minimal catering facilities to make sure that people were going out and using the services around them, and just create a buzz again. But, again, whilst place-based is vital, really important, we've seen the power of that where people go out into communities, services out in the communities are great. But we've also seen the flip side of it when, people who are seeking a job, wanting to find out information, aren't quite sure where to go. Yeah. So you might go there for one issue or problem or element of support, but you might end up with a whole range of other things. So we've been engaging with NHS Tayside, Rod Mountain, who is fantastic, as we know. He's going to help us look at triage and how we build a proper triage system that's rooted in health, but is applied in a different setting. Yeah,
I know it's certainly captured the public attention, I think, and for all the right reasons, because anybody that's ever engaged with the college, it's such an important kind of journey. So from a business and employer perspective, so we've currently got a modern apprentice in our team working really closely with the college. We've worked lots with the college to kind of support people, and we also work with the universities. So it's having that kind of broad range, isn't it, of kind of where do you go for your skills, but actually how do you find out where you can access the support. So things like the academies that Discover Works run are hugely powerful, and having all of that in one place it's just no-brainer.
Yeah, and actually all of the experience that we've learned through the academies, through the apprenticeship work that we're doing, and indeed others, have all kind of led to this point, because we know money's tight. Money is tight everywhere. But actually, if you step back and ask the question, are we getting the best value out of our investment? Hand in heart, we're all duplicating in one way, shape or form. And we're all probably trying to crack the same problem. So, one of the big things that we talked about is this isn't about reducing a workforce or workforces. This is about pooling resources and actually having a better impact. If you think of the number of us that have frontline services, again, if you can pool that, change the approach into more a signposting type approach with multi-skilled people, then you're freeing others up to do the more contact on a one-to-one basis.
And Dundee's pretty good at working collaboratively, isn't it? So even though sometimes we can't, there are still some hurdles that we don't maybe get over sometimes with the way organisations are funded and services are funded, but actually the kind of the bare bones of yes, we really want to work together, it just seems to work in a city like Dundee, doesn't it?
100%, and actually it's been beating the door. People have been beating the door down to be involved and part of it, because one thing I love about this city, and I always have since I first arrived 25 years ago, there is a bit of a can-do attitude, and let's try it, let's do it. Okay, sometimes it doesn't work, or sometimes we go a bit awry, but there's always let's give it a go. And I think that's been really seen over the last, particularly the last 9 months on this. We had people that were basically dissecting their own service and the own support that they give, but they did it in a way that it's not about me, it's about the customer, it's about the students, about the person you're trying to serve. So I don't think you get that in many places, that there's a willingness to go, yeah, we're not very good at that. We need to be better.
Yeah.
And how do we get better at it?
Yeah.
Which is,
yeah.
you know, you don't see that.
And of course, it's not just Dundee either, is it? So the college is hugely important in Angus as well.
Yep.
And there's plans to kind of do the same thing in Arbroath. And I know that you're involved in, you know, the work that's going on to regenerate some of Arbroath anyway. So I suppose that leads us to connections and why connections are so important. So what's the thing about connections that actually makes it easier to do what you do?
I said it right from the time I became vice principal, is we have to build the future of the college around partnerships and collaboration, because what we're good at in Scotland, rightly or wrongly, is we're very siloed at times. And some of the problems that we're trying to fix go across so many different sectors.
Yeah.
They're not all siloed and aren't unique. So the only way to make true change is to do it in a more joined up fashion. And, you know, we grew partnerships significantly, you know, Dundee Football Club and Michelin, and we tried to grow quite a bit, because ultimately our future depends on everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like everyone can almost say the same. You know, if you don't have part of the system, then you don't really have a strong future. And there was a wee bit of the college was becoming, with all the savings and all the cuts, we were actually becoming too insular, when really we needed to be much more outward looking.
Yeah.
And actually, because of all of that work that's happened over the last so many years, it's led us to a point where we can do something grand, because we've got the partnerships, we've got the relationships, we've got the trust. You know, having the trust of government, having the trust of others around you, and knowing that, it's not just Mad Simon going at it again.
Yeah.
Actually, there could be something in this. So, and I remember sitting in Parliament about halfway through where we were trying to get to, and a senior person in Scottish Government said, you know, we know that this college has a good reputation of delivering. We know that it's ran well in terms of finances and everything else. So actually, let's give this a go. Now, had we not built those relationships, had we just been insular and focused on ourselves, we probably wouldn't have got that investment. So it's absolutely critical.
Yeah, yeah. And what about, so, you know, if somebody's listening and thinking, right, maybe I need to build a few more partnerships, or, you know, or what can I learn from partnerships where they've maybe not been quite so successful? What are the kind of things you would share?
Honestly, when I look back, I think I spent too much time on the wrong partnerships when I was maybe starting out. The whole thing about partnerships is there has to be a connection of values, of ethos, of mentality. And I probably spent too much time trying to convince the ones that weren't on the same page as me, as opposed to nurturing and building on the ones that were.
Yeah.
So I think for me, if I could go back, I would probably say, you know, find your kind of people you connect with, not just on an actual, you know, work level, but in a range of levels. You know, the likes of Roy O'Kane, you know, people like that if it wasn't for people like that within the city, you know, you'd be worried.
Yeah.
So people like that give you a spark, but you can also kind of have a trusting relationship, I think is vital. So that would be my kind of thing, is surround yourself with people, not yes people, because it's not about that, but surround yourself with people that have the same values and approach.
Yeah, yeah. What have you learned about building partnerships then that we can share with the world?
It's not easy. The amount of times I've been out in my comfort zone, you know, in environments that I know nothing about. Like, I'd say my best skill, and probably shouldn't admit this, is winging it. And I've basically winged it for I don't know how long, but at the same time, you need to wing it with confidence.
Yeah.
And, people will look at me and say, oh, I don't know how you get up there. I don't know how you do that. Actually, I don't like it. I'm very nervous. I don't like getting up, doing presentations, speaking to people. But I know I have to push myself.
Yeah.
Because if I don't push myself, you don't get yourself around the right tables and the right discussions. Sometimes you regret it, to be honest. But I think, pushing yourself, even when you don't want to go to that event on a cold winter's night, you don't want to drive down to Wrexham like I'm about to do just now. You have to do it, and you have to work at it, and you have to keep at it, and you have to engage. Even the ones that you think weren't worth it are worth it.
Yeah.
Engage with the chamber events, the people around you, because ultimately you just don't know when you will need that relationship. One of the chamber events I was at not that long ago, I bumped into someone I hadn't seen in ages. A week later, it was Campbell, dropped me an email and said, it'd be good to have a chat. Now we're looking at what we can do together with the college. So I think it's finding the time. We're always busy, always, but actually you have to prioritise it as much as the other things that you do. Otherwise, you won't have the opportunities.
Yeah. It's been really interesting talking about the college, and there's probably lots more that we could kind of go into. But what I want to do is just kind of move on. We have 3 questions that we ask all our guests that take part in our podcast, and it's called Key Questions based on our location, of course. So just to start off, what is the one piece of advice you wish you'd known at the start of your career?
Oh, wow. Patience.
Okay.
I'm a very, very impatient person, to the point sometimes to the detriment. Right. And I think what I've learned over the course of my career is when to be patient and when not to be patient. Whereas before I was totally impatient, constantly, all the time. Miffed my team off, it miffed other people off, and I just felt everyone should be operating at my pace and what we should be doing. Yeah. Of course, the world doesn't work like that.
No.
So I think that is the one thing, knowing the art and skill of when to push but when to hold. Yeah,
that's a good one. Is there one issue that keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I think, I'm also the chair of the Local Employability Partnership. I've done some work with the Fairness Leadership Panel. I see learners every single day. What keeps me up at night is just society at the minute and what is going on in the world. And it's hard to watch. And, despite all of the investment, we're still seeing students having to make choices between eating or heating, and really what keeps me up at night is how can we as a college do more to help that, but with less money. And because you look at Dundee in particular, some of the worst stats in Scotland despite all of the investment, and really we need to collectively provide the opportunities. But as I started this, we can't all do it individually. No. We need to do it together. And we need to do it in a way that actually is effective and as effective as possible.
Yeah. So if Dundee Angus College had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, God.
I'm surprised you don't have a theme song, to be fair.
Well, you never know. Might well after this. But can I give you 2?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the first one is for the recent what we've been doing, because there has been moments where I haven't. Journey, Don't Stop Believing.
Okay.
Because there's been times where I have lost a bit of hope and indeed a bit of perspective. But when you've good people around you, Julie and others, they ground you very, very quickly, which is always useful. But the other one, probably, I'm a massive Oasis fan, so Stand By Me, because I think that's what the college does.
Yeah.
It stands by students, it stands by employers, communities, and I think we play a key role sometimes sometimes a hidden key role.
Yeah, but good answers. Thank you. It's been really interesting. Like I said, there's kind of lots that probably could have gone off in different tangents, and we haven't really spoken. We might have to have another conversation about, how do we create more jobs and, get people thinking about upskilling and just all those kind of things. The world just changed so much since COVID, and we do need to create the right opportunity. So we might have to come back and talk about that. But it's been so interesting getting an update on the Wellgate and just thinking about partnerships and, if people are interested in kind of being involved more, how do they get involved more with the college? It just gives us all a bit of food for thought, which is great. And maintaining partnership and connection is really important. And you're absolutely right. I think it resonates with everybody. It's people, isn't it? You find a person that you share, a spark with, the values with, whatever it might be, and then you say, right, we're going to find a way to work together, and then something comes of it. So it's been really interesting. Thank you.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed it, and I think sometimes you don't get the chance to step back and reflect, so it's nice to do that.
No, really appreciate it. So from working closely with local businesses and bringing education into the heart of Dundee through the development of the Wellgate Centre project, this conversation shows just how impactful collaboration can be for people, for places, and for the wider community. Thanks for listening to the first episode of Take a Seat. There are more episodes on the way, so keep an eye on our socials to see what's coming next. Thanks.